Nobody's going to tell you the truth about how to become a fire alarm technician, but I will. Every single week I get asked the same question. How do I become a fire alarm technician? Do I need experience to get in this industry? If I'm an electrician, can I install a fire alarm system? Is the NICET exam as hard as people say it is? Or can I really start my own business installing fire alarm and security systems? People ask me these questions in the DMs, job sites, and also in the comments. And most of the answers that they're getting are either outdated, incorrect, or just completely wrong. So I'm starting something new. If you have any questions about fire alarm, installation, programming, testing, inspection, how to get your license, or either how to start your fire alarm business, just let me know in the comments. And as many questions as I get, I could do more videos just like this, helping you out by answering those questions. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Anthony Richardson. I run a fire alarm and security company out in Pearl River, New York. We're licensed by the state of New York. I'm NICET certified. And we also have an S97 to perform installations in New York City. We're also going to talk about the biggest mistakes technicians make and how to get your New York State license, whether if you're thinking about starting your own fire alarm company someday. So if you ever wondered if you wanted to be a fire alarm technician, then stick around to the end so you can get all the answers to the questions that they're asking about in this industry. And from there, you can make your sound decision. First question is, what does a fire alarm technician do? So let's start off with the basics, because a lot of people picture this absolutely wrong. A fire alarm technician will fall under 4 categories. Either he's going to be an installer, he's going to be a service tech, he's going to be an inspector, or he's just going to be a programmer. But usually an installer or a service tech can actually also be a programmer as well. But depending on the company you work for, they may break it up this type of way. Now, installation is what most people picture. The guy drilling holes through the walls, running wires, installing all of the devices, setting everything up. That's what most people think about when they think about a fire alarm technician. Then you have programming. This is where the real skill come in, because they're going to send you to training, get your manufacturer training on whatever system you're actually working on, and you're the guy that's going to interpret the sequence of operations that's on the drawing. You're going to make the system work with the inputs and outputs. You're going to give it the logic. You're going to be the brains behind the whole entire project to make this system work as designed. And then there's the inspector. Your job is to visually and also physically test the fire alarm system. So if there's any deficiencies, your job is to keep accurate documentation, make sure you're writing it up, make sure you're letting the customer know within 24 hours if there are any impairments on the physical fire alarm system, and also get that information back to the office so they can send the service tech out there to actually fix whatever problems there is out there. So it's very important as an inspector that your documentation is actually super on point. And then there's the service tech. This is the lane that I like to walk into, because I like to jump around from building to building, see different things, fix different problems, and be the guy who comes in after the first guy that couldn't fix it. I felt that anyone could actually put a system together, especially if they had directions. If you get plans from IKEA, you should be able to put that bed together. So I felt that that was easier than actually being a service tech diagnosing problems that we had no idea where these problems actually came from. So I did start out doing installations, but I moved to being a service technician for the duration of my entire fire alarm career. Now, the second question is, how much can a fire alarm technician make? Now, that can vary, because I worked in local Union 3 for over 20 years, and all I can really go by is actually the union scale. There are private companies out there that pay over scale. However, starting in the fire alarm industry, when I started, I was getting paid $22 an hour. Now, this is the question everybody wants answered, because we all want money. We want to maximize on how much we could actually get. But to actually maximize on the money potential that you can get, you have to be more marketable. You can't just walk into a particular industry and demand X amount of dollars. You have to be worth the money you're asking for. So if you're just starting out, there's places like National Training Center, there's places like Electronic Security Association where you can take some training, get a certificate for fire alarm or security. That way to get you an entry level into the door. You're not just coming in with no paperwork or no knowledge at all. You could even go through our free training course and learn everything you need to learn about fire alarm. I'll start doing more security, but for now, I'm focused on just fire alarm systems. So let's get into it. A junior technician, when you're working as a junior technician, you're usually working under a senior tech. So fire alarm companies don't generally run like an electrician. They normally don't send out crews. You normally work by yourself. However, there may be someone who's been in the business or who's been at this company for a very long time, who's very knowledgeable and know all of the systems that they have there. So your job would be, if they send you to the wolves, is what they call it, is just to make sure you remain calm. If you're starting out at an apprentice level, this is going to be the guy who's probably going to get all of the coffee. You're going to be carrying a ladder. You're probably going to be doing the drilling. You're probably going to be doing most of the work that the other guys is not trying to do. They're going to pass off to you. This is your learning stage. This is really where you're going to be asking the most questions. So if you coming in as an apprentice, this could land you anywhere between $15 and $18 per hour. Now, if you're a junior technician, this means you at least have your S98, you have your NICET level 1. Let's say you've been working in the field at least 3 years as a junior technician. You know how to install a system. You're fairly good at troubleshooting, but you really don't know how to program yet because you probably didn't go to manufacturer training. Anywhere from $18 to $21 an hour. Now, if you're a senior technician, this is any technician who has NICET level 2. You've been in the business over 5 years. You really understand the system. You know how to program. You know how to install. You know how to do all these different things when it comes to fire alarm systems. You're a very trusted technician. Anywhere between $30 and $35 an hour for a technician who have that type of skill set. Now, if you're a programmer, just doing the programming for all the fire alarm panels that we have out there, that salary right there is going to be about $40 an hour. Now, the salary scale will tip a little further if you have your NICET level 3 or if you have your NICET level 4. There's a different conversation you can have if you're a technician with those types of skill set. You could actually demand what you want because there's a lot of companies out there who don't have NICET level 3 techs and who need NICET level 3 techs. Now, if you're a project manager is usually a salaried position. So if you're working as a project manager, that's anywhere between $80 and $120,000 per year. So these are the types of salaries that you're going to see. Now, these are not set in stone. If you're looking at another company and they're not paying that type of pay scale, I don't want you to be discouraged because you first don't even have the knowledge or information to do the work itself. You have to first learn it, build the skill set, become marketable, then you can start demanding what you need in this industry. Now, question 3 is, can electricians install fire alarm systems? And the answer is absolutely. Electricians will probably be the best ones to actually install a fire alarm system. The only curve or the learning curve they would probably have is actually programming a fire alarm system. So what they would have to do is either partner with a fire alarm company so they could do the programming. But I've worked for a lot of electrical contractors that either had direct access to the fire alarm manufacturer where they would send their own electricians to training so they could do their own programming and actually install their own system. So as long as you got the license, it doesn't matter if you're an electrician or a fire alarm contractor or even a security contractor. If you have the license to install fire alarm systems, you have the right of way to install fire alarm systems. Now, question 4, do I need experience to get into the fire alarm industry? And the answer is no. But I would suggest that if you are looking to get into the fire alarm industry, there's many different avenues that you can take. There's the electrical side you can take of it. There's the telephone technician side you can take of it. There's the cable technician side you can take of it. They have access control, security system, burglar alarm system, intrusion, all these different areas that you could get into to get familiar with running wires, running a project, being on a construction project. Learning all these different things will help you become a fire alarm technician if that's the area or if that's the avenue that you're trying to go. Another thing would be National Training Center, so you can get all your fire alarm code information. NFPA, you go directly to the source to learn what the codes are. They even have training so you can sign up, get 10% off the books, anything like that. This is no ad or anything like that, but this is just what I do to keep my NFPA membership. And then it's also the ESA, that's the Electronic Security Association. So these are the training centers that you can go to get certificates, certifications. If you have no experience, it's going to cost you some money. So either you're going to have to work somewhere so that way you could actually pay for these things, or you're going to have to borrow some money from somewhere else so that way you could actually pay these things. Whatever you have to do is what you have to do to make sure you can get whatever knowledge you need to get in the fire alarm industry. But if you have experience in this industry, then your resume should be speaking for itself. But if you don't, make sure you get the proper training before you step into any type of business or any type of fire alarm company asking for a job. Now, the 5th question is, what's the biggest mistake that I see technicians make? Now, I've trained a lot of techs over the past 25 years and it's so consistent of the same mistakes that these technicians actually make. So the first mistake is not understanding how to read the drawings. You're looking at a set of plans and you're not understanding what the sequence of operation is. You're not understanding what the legend is, what the device legend is, what the devices look like, placement or anything like that. Everything is blinded and confused. So what you need to do is ask questions. Don't sit there with your mouth closed assuming that this is what the thing is supposed to be. No, this is life safety. So if you're unsure, ask somebody who knows. And the second one is not actually learning the code, not understanding that when you're in this industry, this is constant learning every day. You have to keep up with your certifications if you're NICET certified. You have to renew it every 2 years. This is a continuing education industry. So if you're not always educating yourself, you're falling behind. And mistake 3, not understanding the different types of circuits. Understand you just starting out, you have 16 wire, you have 14 wire, some people use 18 wire, some people use 1 pair, some people use 2 pair, you have black, you have red, you you have yellow, you have green, you have all these different colors, you have SLC, you have NAC circuit. All you got to do, slow down and just learn one thing at a time. And if you don't know, just ask. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because the one that don't ask is the one that's never going to learn. So just ask the question. And that leads me to mistake number 4, by not asking questions. Some of us may feel ashamed on the inside by thinking that this is a stupid question, or maybe the person you're talking to is a who knows? You still ask the question regardless. However you receive the information, just take what you need to take from however you're receiving it. Don't ever have your feelings or emotions involved because of someone else. All right. So all you have to do is ask the question, so that way you can get clarity on whatever it is you're confused about. Now, the 6th question is, how do I get my New York State fire alarm license? And I'm glad you asked that question, because we have a state approved 81-hour fire alarm course hosted out here in Pearl River in our office in New York. The class is 4 weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, for 81 straight hours. You have to sit in the class. It's going to be a fun class. It's not going to be boring, no lectures, anything like that. We're going to have fire alarm panels, communicators, CCTV systems, burglar alarm systems, access control systems, wiring, so that way you can understand what this equipment is and how to actually apply it in the real world. So when you sign up for our New York State fire alarm license, it's 5 modules. You get NFPA books, you get cheat sheets, you get a free copy of my pocket edition book, but you get all of the training you need to get access to take the state exam. Now, you have to pass all 5 modules. Each module has a test at the end of it. We'll give you as much information as you need to help you pass these modules, but you have to pass every module in order to be eligible to take the state exam. So once you take the state exam, you would take all of this paperwork, you will get fingerprinted, you will get your application, you would take your $175 and you send that up to the state. Once you send that up to the state and you pass the exam, you will be a licensed fire alarm contractor. So if you're serious about moving on to the next step and getting your state license, then just click the link in my description. It's going to give you all the information about the course, when the next class is, and you can sign right up right there, and I'll see you in the class. Now, question 7 is the NICET exam hard, or is the New York State license exam hard? Any test you do not prepare for is extremely difficult. Now, when I took my New York State license test, it took me 15 times, and it wasn't because, it was because I didn't know, and on top of because I didn't know, it was my arrogance. Being that I was in the field for over 10 years, I felt that I was a good technician. Even though I was a good technician, I felt that I just knew I can pass this test. So that arrogance took me a lot of $15 and a lot of 6-month waiting period to take the next test. So 2013, and I actually got licensed in 2017. So I don't want you to do none of that. I want you to stay focused and get through it the first time. So in our training program, will help you pass the exam the first time. And if you don't pass it, all you got to do is come back. We'll do a review, a refresher, and we'll help you pass it the next time. So as long as you prepare for the exam, when I go and take my NICET exam, whatever date I schedule, I give myself 90 days so that way I can go through the code books, whatever I need to train. I usually go to National Training Center, but being that I have my own training course, I pretty much have a lot of information in my head from the codes by building out this course. But my first move is going to National Training Center so that way I can go through the courses that they have for every level of NICET. So when I prepare, I don't cram in 1 hour, 2 hours, learning this chapter, no, I don't do it like that. I do 30 minutes and I do only one chapter, maybe one section. I don't do a whole bunch of different sections, and that's why I give myself 90 days. So that way I can go section by section per day. So I give myself 30 to 45 minutes a day per studying for 90 days. So that way I can retain the information. And how I actually do it is kind of like practicing if you're trying to learn the script, like rehearsal learning. So I'm actually giving it bounce when I'm reading it. So that way I can retain the information in my mind. You figure out a way to make it work for you, because I know just reading these codes is boring. So you have to try to give it a different angle so that way you can make it fun and retain the information. Now, question 8, can I start my own fire alarm company? Absolutely. In New York, you can start your own fire alarm company. I'm not familiar with no other state, but in New York State, you go through our program, you get yourself licensed, you go through the fire alarm business blueprint, you actually learn the business, then you go out there and conduct business. So as you get all of this training under the umbrella of the Fire Tech Licensing Academy, we will take you every step of the way so there will never be no uncertainty in your operation when it comes to you running your fire alarm business. So yes, you can start a fire alarm business, and that is the best thing that you could actually do for yourself by providing more life safety to the people and the public and the buildings that's going up in your area. All right, so let's recap. We covered what a fire alarm tech does, how much you can make as a technician depending on your skill set, whether an electrician can do the work, or if you need experience as an entry-level technician, getting your New York State license, and also starting your fire alarm business. It's a lot we covered and a lot of questions we had answered. So if it's anything that you're uncertain uncertain about, leave those questions in the comments so that way I can give you some clarity and never leave you confused. So if you're just starting out, make sure you get your foundational knowledge first. That's going through those training centers, even our free training course, so that way you could download your certificates and then just go start applying for jobs. No matter if it's a fire alarm company, a security company, electrical company, a telephone company, it doesn't matter what it is. You want to get in and learn how to start running wires, learning how to start talking to customers, learning how to start dealing with customers, learning how to fill out work orders. You want to get that information in your head. Then you can go on your journey to becoming a fire alarm technician, because you may not land it right away. So you have to probably take some steps to actually get there. So just plan it out and you'll get there. Now, if you're in the field working towards your license or your NICET certification, I'll be going live every 2 weeks, going over fire alarm business blueprint. The panel behind me, we're going to be doing some programming. We're going to be installing devices, doing scenario setups. We're going to be talking about how to get a central station, what a central station is, how to connect central station, how to add clients. We're going to be going over a lot of stuff when it comes to how I actually run my fire alarm business. And the most important thing, how to market, how to get in front of people and how to stay in front of people. All right. So make sure you join us live. The link is also in the description. So remember, if you have questions, leave them in the comments. You find me on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, wherever. Shoot me a DM. I'll put all the questions together and I'll do another video like this. All right. I'm the fire alarm expert. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.